I got addicted to studying using dopamine tricks. You know what happened next? My brain was completely destroyed for 6 months. Let me be real with you. I spent 3 years chasing every dopamine optimization hack, every study system, every brain trick that promised to make studying feel effortless. The 10-minute detoxes, the 23-minute study blocks, the micro rewards every 60 seconds, the illegal techniques that would rewire my brain in 7 days. And you know what? Some of it worked. For about 2 weeks. Then my brain crashed so hard I couldn't focus on anything for 6 months. Couldn't read a book, couldn't watch a movie, couldn't even scroll through my phone without feeling exhausted. Because here's what all these dopamine gurus won't tell you. You can't trick your way into caring about something. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. Optimize my brain into wanting to study material I didn't give a damn about for goals I wasn't clear on. So yeah, the dopamine science everyone's obsessed with? It's real. Your brain does prefer instant rewards over delayed ones. That part's not bullshit. But if you think following a 4-phase dopamine routine is going to make studying feel like scrolling TikTok, you're setting yourself up for the same crash I had. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear. If studying feels impossible, your dopamine settings might be broken, but fixing them won't solve your actual problem. Your actual problem? You don't know why you're studying in the first place. Let me explain the dopamine science first. Then I'll show you what actually matters. Everyone talks about dopamine like it's pleasure. It's not. Dopamine is anticipation, the expectation of reward. That's why scrolling is so damn addictive. Your brain gets a tiny reward every 0.3 seconds. Swipe, reward. Swipe, reward. Swipe, reward. Studying? The reward comes after 30 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe weeks later when you pass the exam. Your brain is literally doing math. Why wait 30 minutes when TikTok gives me a hit every heartbeat? So we're not fighting laziness here. We're fighting the timing of dopamine. That part's accurate. And yeah, there are techniques that can help. I'm not saying they're all garbage. The 10-minute dopamine reset before studying? That actually works. Sitting quietly, no stimulation, letting your baseline calm down. Scientifically valid. The 90-second trigger before studying. Pump up music, cold water on your face, jumping jacks. Creates a dopamine spike that primes your brain for focus. Also real. Starting with an ultra-easy micro task instead of diving into the hardest material? Absolutely works. Gives your brain that fast win, that quick dopamine hit that says, oh, this is rewarding. Breaking study sessions into shorter blocks with micro rewards creates that dopamine loop pattern everyone talks about. Study, reward, study, reward. The science is solid. I'm not here to tell you it's fake. But here's where it all falls apart. And this is what cost me 6 months of my life. I was using all these tricks to force myself to study for a degree I didn't care about, for a career path I wasn't sure I wanted, because everyone said I should. I optimized the hell out of my dopamine system. Perfect 23-minute blocks. Micro rewards timed to the second. Started every session with the easiest possible task. And my brain? It cooperated. For 2 weeks, studying felt easier. I was getting through material faster. The system was working. Then, week 3 hit. And suddenly, I couldn't study without the whole elaborate setup. Couldn't focus unless I had the perfect routine. Couldn't make myself start unless every condition was ideal. I had built a sophisticated dependency. My brain now required all these external triggers just to do what it used to do naturally. Worse, I still didn't give a shit about what I was studying. I was just better at forcing myself to do it. That's not sustainable. That's not studying. That's psychological warfare with yourself. By month 4, my brain was so fried from constantly manipulating my dopamine system that I couldn't focus on anything without elaborate setups and rewards. I had turned myself into a dopamine-seeking robot that needed constant external triggers to function. Took me 6 months to reset. 6 months of barely being able to read a paragraph without my brain screaming for a reward. So when I see these videos promising, get addicted to studying in 7 days with this dopamine routine, I want to throw my phone across the room because they're selling you the same trap I fell into. And they're leaving out the most important part, the part that actually determines whether you'll study consistently or crash and burn. Do you actually care about what you're studying? Not should you care, not do your parents want you to care, not will this get you a good job. Do you care? Right now, honestly, no bullshit. Because if you don't, All the dopamine optimization in the world is just building a prettier prison. Here's what I learned after destroying my brain and rebuilding my entire approach to studying. You need clarity before you need systems, not the other way around. Clarity means answering 3 brutal questions. 1. What am I studying? Not the course name. What's the actual material? Be specific. 2. Why am I studying this? And because I have to is not a real answer. Dig deeper. What happens if you don't? Is that consequence real or imagined? Does it actually matter to you? 3. Does any part of this connect to something I genuinely care about? Even a small connection, even one aspect. Find it or admit it doesn't exist. Most people skip straight to optimization without answering these questions. That's why every system fails after 2 weeks. You can't optimize your way out of a clarity problem. I see students trying dopamine hacks for subjects they're forcing themselves to study, for majors they picked because it sounded good, for careers they're not even sure they want. Then they wonder why the system stops working. The system didn't fail. You were using the system to avoid the real question. Now, here's the thing. Once you have clarity, once you actually know why you're doing this, you don't need a complicated 4-phase dopamine protocol. You need something way simpler. If you genuinely care about the material, if you have a real reason that matters to you, here's what actually works. Start stupid simple. Don't overthink it. Pick one thing to study. Open the book, read 1 page. That's it. No 10-minute detox, no 90-second trigger, no elaborate setup. Just start. Because when you have clarity about why it matters, your brain doesn't need to be tricked. Now, does that mean techniques don't help? No, they can help. But they're tools, not the foundation. After you have clarity, then you can use some of the dopamine science intelligently. Start with easy tasks? Yeah, that works. Builds momentum. Gives your brain that quick win. Take breaks? Absolutely. Your brain needs rest. Don't marathon through exhaustion. Create some structure? Sure. Having a loose routine can help. But don't make it so rigid that you can't function without it. The difference is this. When you have clarity, these techniques enhance what you're already motivated to do. When you don't have clarity, these techniques are just elaborate procrastination disguised as productivity. You're optimizing the wrong thing. You're treating the symptom, not the disease. The symptom is, I can't focus on studying. The disease is, I don't know why I'm studying this in the first place. Fix the disease first. Then worry about optimization. Here's the brutal truth most people don't want to hear. Maybe you don't actually need to study what you're studying. Maybe that major isn't right for you. Maybe that career path isn't what you thought. Maybe you're doing this because of external pressure, not internal drive. And if that's the case, no amount of dopamine hacking will fix it. You'll just keep burning out and wondering why. I'm not saying quit everything. I'm saying get honest about it. If you genuinely need to study something you don't care about, like a required class for a degree you do care about, then okay, acknowledge that. Make the choice consciously. I don't care about this specific class, but I care about the degree, so I'm choosing to get through this. That's clarity. That's honest. Then you can use techniques to make it easier, but you're not lying to yourself. You're not pretending dopamine tricks will make you love calculus when you don't. You're just getting through what needs to get done because it connects to something that does matter. That's sustainable. That's real. But if you can't find any connection to anything you care about, if you're just going through the motions because you should, stop. Seriously. Stop wasting your time building elaborate dopamine systems to force yourself to care. Either find the real reason this matters to you, or have the courage to admit it doesn't and choose differently. I know that's scary. I know there's pressure. I know everyone has opinions about what you should do, but spending years forcing yourself through material you don't care about, using brain tricks to manufacture motivation, that's not success. That's slow motion misery. Here's my actual system now, after learning all this the hard way. Step 1. Get brutally clear on why. Not what everyone else wants, what you actually care about. Step 2. If you find a real reason, even a small one, build from there. Start simple. 1 page, 1 problem, 1 concept. Step 3. Build momentum naturally. When you care about the why, momentum comes from progress, not from elaborate reward systems. Step 4. Use techniques when they help, not because you need them to function. Take breaks when you're tired. Start with easier material when you're building momentum. Keep it simple. That's it. No 4 phases, no perfect timing, no complicated protocols. Clarity first, simple action second, build momentum third. Techniques as tools, not crutches. Now, let me address the people thinking, but Steve, I need to study this. I don't have a choice. Okay, let's say that's true. You absolutely must study this material. It's required. No way around it. Then stop pretending you're going to love it. Stop looking for the dopamine hack that'll make it feel like playing a game. Accept that it's going to suck sometimes. That's okay. Not everything needs to feel good. But do yourself a favor. Find some connection to something you care about. Even a small one. Maybe you don't care about organic chemistry, but you care about getting into med school because you actually want to be a doctor. That's your why. Hold on to that. Maybe you don't care about statistics, but you care about the research you want to do that requires it. That's the connection. Keep it visible. The why doesn't have to be in the material itself. It can be in where the material leads, but you need to make that connection explicit. Write it down. Remind yourself, because your brain needs context. And once you have that context, studying becomes a choice you're making for a reason you understand, not a chore you're forcing yourself through with brain tricks. That shift, from forcing to choosing, that's everything. Here's what happens when you do this right. When you get clarity first, then study from that foundation. You don't need perfect conditions to start. You just start. You don't crash after 2 weeks. You keep going because you remember why it matters. You don't need elaborate dopamine protocols. You use simple techniques when they help, but you're not dependent on them. Your brain doesn't get fried from constant manipulation. You're working with your brain, not against it. Studying becomes something you do because it connects to your actual goals, not something you force yourself through with increasingly complicated systems. That's sustainable. That's real studying. That's what actually works long term. The dopamine science? It's real. The techniques? Some of them work, but they're not the foundation. Clarity is the foundation. Purpose is the foundation. Knowing why you're doing what you're doing, that's the foundation. Everything else is just tools. Useful tools. But tools don't work if you're building the wrong thing. So stop optimizing your dopamine routine. Stop looking for the perfect study hack. Stop treating your brain like a system you can game. Start asking, do I care about this? Why am I doing this? What am I actually working toward? Answer those questions honestly. Then build from there. If you can't answer them, don't grab another dopamine optimization video. Sit with the discomfort of not knowing. Figure it out. Because the alternative is what happened to me. 3 years of elaborate systems that worked for 2 weeks each, followed by 6 months of brain fog so thick I could barely function. I don't want that for you. Do this. Before you try any study technique, any dopamine hack, any optimization system, write down 3 things. 1. What am I studying? Be specific. 2. Why does this matter to me? Not to anyone else. To me. 3. What happens if I don't do this? Is that consequence real? If you can answer those clearly, honestly, with real reasons that matter to you, then go ahead and use whatever techniques help. If you can't answer them, don't touch another study system until you can, because you're not optimizing studying. You're optimizing procrastination. Clarity first, systems second, not the other way around. Your brain isn't broken. Your dopamine isn't the problem. You're just trying to force yourself to care about something without figuring out if you actually should. Stop tricking. Start choosing. That's how you study sustainably.